we never talk about the Niners defense anymore. It's the strength of the team. We're constantly talking about an offense that is inconsistent at best. The Niners defense was the best defense in the league last year, and it's different now. There are differences. Could be better. It could be worse. They lost about 5 starters. They brought in Javon Hargrave. And I think one important difference with this team is that the pass rush this year should be way better than last year. It's pretty fundamental. But last year, I mean, especially down the stretch, it was just Bosa. It was the whole thing. And it was a great defense, but on third down, they weren't great. In the red zone, they weren't great. Bosa got tired down the stretch, and they didn't have a pass rush anymore. Now with Hargrave and him, they should have, once again, one of the best pass rushes in the league. And maybe that's going to be enough for them to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't know. They would also be helpful if Eric Armstead could have more than 0 sacks this year, which is what he had last year. So those things, Eric Armstead having more than 0 sacks and Javon Hargrave being on the team this year, I think that's we never talk about anything but the quarterback thing, but I think this is more important than whichever quarterback they decide to start. This guy, Hargrave, he's great.
Tell us about him.
He was with the Steelers at first. He was one of these like mid-round picks, kind of went to a small school, kind of short, became really good. I saw him in person. He's got the biggest legs I've ever seen, the biggest thighs I've ever seen. He's very low to the ground. He's one of these guys that gets underneath the pads of the offensive lineman. He's really low. He's really strong. He's really quick. He has a bunch of moves. He's really impossible to block on pass plays. So the pass rush is going to be a lot better. He's replacing Javon Kinlaw, who doesn't have any of those qualities. Like Javon Kinlaw has high pad level. This guy's like the lowest pad level on the team. Only thing with him is that he's small and he's a pass rusher and you can kind of move him around in the run game. But I don't think that really matters as much. I mean, teams, you win and lose based on how you pass, mostly in the NFL these days. So I think this guy's going to make their team a lot better.
So, Iggy, what you're saying is he's past Kinlaw on the depth chart?
Oh.
Okay, hold on. What I want to say is I don't think the team has given up on Kinlaw yet.
No.
I haven't. And maybe playing behind Hargrave will give Kinlaw a chance to heal and to stay healthy. So maybe this is in Kinlaw's interest as well.
I would agree. I asked the D-line coach about Kinlaw about a month ago, and he said this is the healthiest he's been since he's been on the team.
Great.
First full offseason he's had. So he has an opportunity. Also, he could be behind Hargrave. He could be behind Armstead. Armstead has missed a ton of time last year. He's 30. The injury he had was plantar fascia, which, you know, can be something that comes back. So Kinlaw could have another opportunity this year next to Hargrave.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to come back to Armstead a minute. Could you clarify how many sacks did he have last season?
It was 0, which is less than you would prefer when you're paying a guy $24 million a year. But to his credit, he did have 2 sacks in the playoffs. The thing with Armstead is like he can be the best player on the field. It just seems like it's more and more infrequent as he gets older.
I see.
I don't know. It almost feels like he paces himself, which I guess is fair. But
but in the position he plays, is it more important to get sacks or to be a run defender?
To me, I think sacks are more important. But what do I know? Is that an old school way of thinking?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it good to spend $24 million a year on run defense? I don't know.
That's what they pay him. But he's a very intelligent man, and he's a spokesman for the team.
Yeah.
So maybe part of what he's bigger. So maybe part of what they're paying him for, they say, it's true. You only had 0 sacks, which is better than -1 sacks.
True.
But you're very intelligent and you're a spokesman for the team.
And he had 2 sacks in the playoffs. He almost had 3. He almost had a third. Remember that against the Cowboys? He
didn't want it.
Rights. No, he was. I actually thought it was quite charitable of Eric Armstead, who was a very charitable man. He just let him go. It was like, Dak, I could embarrass you and sack you in the end zone, but you know what? That would hurt your feelings. You have a family. You have a father and mother, and they wouldn't like to see you do that. So, you know what? I'm going to make you feel better about yourself. I think it was quite nice of him.
Yeah, I think overall he's, look, I don't think it's important that he had 0 sacks, are you saying? I don't think it's that important because he's got humanity.
Let me check.
He's got humanity.
Let me check one more time. 9 games, 0 sacks, but he did have 11 tackles, Dad. He had 11 tackles in 9 games. So don't forget the 11 tackles he had. Hold on.
Is that Is that a lot in 9 games?
11 tackles in 9 games. No, I would have to say no. He had 63 tackles the year before. So 11
Yeah.
is kind of terrible, but it's better. It's better than 10. It's better than 10.
Okay, and it's better than 0.
It is better than 0, which is the amount of sacks that he had.
Okay, now I want Iggy to stop because here's what I want to say. We're making fun of Armstead now. The reason is I don't like his attitude. I'm not joking around now. He's another one who's above criticism. He's another one. I feel he's a very intelligent guy who is very intelligent, and he runs a charity for kids up in Sacramento. I really admire that. He may be a very nice person, but as far as I've seen, he's a rather small-minded person in the way, especially he deals with the media. So you can take those 0 sacks, and maybe this year you can get 1.
I think people forget. They look at football players. They're so big. They're so heroic. They're so courageous. They're so tough. A lot of them are really immature. They're in their 20s. They haven't really had to go through much. Have had their asses kissed since they were like 12. And then what happens is they retire and they fade away from the spotlight, and like all that growing up happens in their like 30s. You've seen it a lot. You like run into some guy that who's like 40 now, and you hadn't seen him since he's an athlete, and you're like, oh, you were a jerk. And then you talk to him, you're like, wait, who the hell are you? You're great. Happens a lot.
Mm-hmm. Happens all the time. They catch up. And I'll give you an example. Will Clark, when he was with the Giants, he could be very difficult, and he didn't like me at all. And he may have every reason. Now, whenever I see Will, he's grown up. I've grown up. We actually have affection for each other. He's grown into the loveliest, nicest grown-up. When we see each other, we give each other a hug.
Yep. That's really cool. And I feel like I could have that experience. What I hope is that in 20 years, I'm at some banquet and I run into Javon Kinlaw, and he's coming off a 10-year career where it all worked out, and we haven't seen each other in 10 years. And we look at each other and we go, motherfucker, I haven't seen you in so long. Remember that shit 20 years ago? Remember what we went through? And we give each other a hug. Like that would be nice. I've seen athletes and journalists have those interactions. I've seen you have those interactions. That's what I hope. Yeah.
And Iggy, I think it could happen with Kinlaw. And you know what? I think Armstead is fundamentally a good enough guy. I do that could happen with him. I do.
Debo too. But at 26, they're going to freaking hate me.
Yeah.
Maybe at 46, it'll be different. Yeah.
Iggy, you saw at that banquet, Jerry Rice came in and put his arm around me.
Correct.
You were right there.
He did not like you when you were right.
No.
But
when he came, he put his arm around me and he said, what's going on, guys? And he wanted to hang around with us.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, all of the animosity is gone. You're not in a position to criticize him anymore. Right. And all of a sudden, it's like nostalgia. Remember when we were in the trenches together? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right.
So you know what, Eric, I'm hoping that comes a time, and Javon, I'm hoping there comes a time that when you see Grant and you're older and you guys are retired, you could say, we went through it together. High five.
High five. Cheers.